Wave, everybody.
Hello.
And that's all, folks. Even with overtime, neither team comes out victorious as the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers tied 26-26. According to hourly statistics provided by Green Waste, a leading provider of environmentally friendly waste disposal, during the course of that 4-hour-long football game 2 weeks ago, nearly 100 million plastic water bottles were thrown away in the United States alone. That comes out to more than 2 plastic water bottles per person every day. While hiking on a secluded trail in Glacier National Park when I was 10 years old, I came across a discarded water bottle in a place that had been previously known to be one of the most natural and untouched areas in the United States. Even at that young age, I couldn't believe that someone could be so careless. The concept of reduce, reuse, and recycle has been around for decades, and today I would like to convince you to participate in this easy yet effective philosophy. Today I'm going to tell you about the statistics behind our recyclable waste production, what everyone can do to reduce their recyclable waste production, and how it can reduce the impacts humans are having on our environment for the future. Another statistic provided by Green Waste is that the average person produces 4.5 pounds of trash every day, and 75% of this is recyclable. The truth is that only about 30% of this actually gets recycled. This can include newspapers, plastic water bottles, food waste, excessive packaging, and used gadgets, to name a few. Told it not to do this. With the current heavy use of synthetic materials that greatly resist decomposition, the EPA states that over 50% of waste that ends up in landfills could stay there for centuries or longer. According to Verde Mom, a leading journalist on the subject, she has found that nearly 1/3 of the waste generated in the US is unnecessary packaging that fits this description of synthetic materials. Even when taking into account the energy required for obtaining and transporting recycled materials, environmental consultant Robert Morris has found that it is still at least twice as energy efficient to use recycled materials for manufacturing than using virgin materials, or materials that have just been extracted or mined from the earth. Statistics published by National Geographic journalist Susanna DeDyer states that over the last 30 years, Americans have increased their consumption of water from plastic bottles by a factor of 20, regardless of the fact that bottled water can cost up to 1,000 times more than tap water. Now that I've told you about some of the statistics behind our recyclable waste production, I'd like to move on to how we can reduce this recyclable waste production. By using recycled or reusable products such as water bottles, like this Nalgene bottle, and flatware, we can reduce the amount of waste we produce while saving money at the same time. I've been using the same Nalgene bottle for nearly 5 years, and I would estimate I've consumed at least 500 gallons of water out of it alone. That's at least 1,000 plastic water bottles that never had to be produced or recycled for one person alone. The EPA states that buying products in concentrated, bulk, or refillable forms can save the consumer up to 20% in cost and reduce waste production by at least 30%. Many products are becoming available in this form, such as detergent, for instance, which not only saves the consumer money and uses less packaging, it is also designed to be safe for the environment when it is time to wash it down the drain. Many products now include the percent of recycled material that are included in the production and the recyclability of the product when faced with the time for disposal. Just last week, I bought a new pair of winter gloves whose packaging was minimal and contained the information, made with 15% recycled material. If only we could get more companies to adopt this type of practice, it would make a huge difference. In the pharmacy in which I work, I am responsible for maintaining the inventory. Many medications that we stock come in single-use and bulk forms, and whenever it's possible and practical, I always order the bulk form because it uses much less packaging and it also is much less expensive. Now that I've showed you a few ways that we can reduce the amount of recyclable materials that we produce, I'd like to move on to the environmental impacts that our decisions today are making for the future. Verde Mom has observed and photographed a plastic island. This is just a small part of it. This man is trying to paddle his canoe through a bunch of plastic and other waste that is in the ocean. It has this plastic island in the Pacific Ocean is at least twice the size of Texas and has been created by unintentionally dumping excess waste that has resulted from overfilling landfills and materials that do not decompose rapidly. The American Beverage Association has found that its industry uses 46% less packaging today than it did in 1990, while the consumption of plastic bottled water in the US has nearly tripled during that same time period. Just by replacing one plastic bottle of water daily with tap water, we could drastically decrease our impact on the environment and save money in the process. According to the United States Energy Information Administration and statistics provided by the website Keep America Beautiful, if the US could recycle just half of all the petroleum-based plastic water bottles that we produce annually, we could save nearly 25 million barrels of oil that could otherwise have been intended for plastic production. That's enough to meet the demand of the United States for 5 days. This would decrease our CO2 emissions and fossil fuel dependence and save space in landfills that are already overflowing in the process. Recently, companies have been developing ways to utilize this plastic waste, and some examples include molding park benches and creating weatherproof siding for buildings. These have shown to be incredibly efficient and durable, and the idea is catching momentum. Today I've talked to you about the statistics of plastic recycling, what we can do as individuals to reduce the amount of recyclable waste that we produce, and the future environmental impacts that our decisions are making today. In conclusion, by participating in the Reduce, Reuse, and Recycle campaign, each of us can eliminate nearly 3 pounds of waste daily. Thanks. So, does anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Okay, let's hear it.
I've noticed at the airport and the club I belong to, they have little water stations now where you can put your water bottle under it. Are companies encouraged to do that, do you know? Or are they just doing it on their own? Or
I'm guessing that the beverage companies are not a big fan of it.
okay.
Have you noticed the little display on the top of it
Yes.
that says the number of water bottles that have been saved?
Yes, I did see that.
Does
Okay.
anyone have any other questions?
They've only had it for a year at that place. They just came from, it's at like 6,000 now. Bottles.
6,000?
Since last
Okay.
November, not January.
Anyone have any other questions? About anything else that
Are
I'm
there
talking
other
about?
benefits to the Nalgene, like the BPA free, or
Yep, it's definitely a big part of it.
does a normal bottle like this have that type of plastic in it?
It does. As long as you're not reusing it and exposing it to direct sunlight, you should be okay drinking from those. Except for the waste that you're producing by using those.
This is from yesterday.
Oh, did you reuse it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good thing. That's good.
You mentioned a buildup in the ocean, a plastic island.
Mhm.
What sort of techniques or strategies are being used by companies to break down these products that don't decompose?
There isn't really any way of doing that. The only way to really do that is to recycle them.
So they're just is it being pushed in that area, or is it like,
Well, the currents
The
are kind
currents
of
are-
cycling them
and they're just
compressing
sitting
them.
right there and it's
Yeah.
all plastic
Most of it's plastic
bottles and everything?
because it floats and
Okay.
it doesn't decompose.
Is
Okay.
it called Kia Verde?
I think I've heard that before, yeah.
Is there any current effort to
I did find many photos online
fix the situation?
of like ships corralling it with nets and picking up some of it, but it would take forever to completely eliminate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.